All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and right here, right now, we actually have legendary R&B hip hop artist. This individual is actually the member of one of the most famous, iconic R&B trios of all time. Intro, we got the one and only Buddy Wike right here, live on the line, man. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good, man. Thank you for that great introduction. Appreciate it.
Hey man, you were most certainly welcome. I gotta say briefly, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening, man. I grew up on your music and intro, man. So just it's an honor to be able to converse with you and just be able to interview such a legendary R&B artist on my radio station airwaves this evening.
Wow. Thanks, man. Thank you. How's everything? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Down here in Canada, just we're still dealing with the pandemic and travel restrictions and all that fun stuff. I hope everything is all good on your end, because I do know this past year and a half to 2 years has been absolutely crazy for everyone.
It's been crazy for everyone. Yeah, man. But thank God we staying alive like the Bee Gees.
Hey, man, that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to be, man. Hopefully, we all stay that way and we can actually get back to normal life and get these masks off.
Yeah, I miss Canada. I'll tell you that.
Hey, man, I gotta say, we definitely miss you guys down here as well, man. So hopefully these travel restrictions clear up soon and we can actually get you down here to Canada for an amazing concert.
Yeah, yep.
But I want to take you back to the beginning of your iconic career, man. And I have to ask, buddy, first and foremost, like, what actually made you decide to pursue a career in music before intro?
Before intro, like my dad was a church musician. He played the piano in church and the organ in church. So just watching him and being around the house with the piano and stuff kind of made me want to get into music and started playing in the church myself. And they actually started paying me when I was a teenager to play piano in the church, and I had no idea that I could get paid money from doing something that I love. And from there, just listening to the radio, having good friends around me like J. Rue the Damager. He used to go to my church, and just being in the middle of music and liking it and having fun in the choir. Being in the choir was more fun than just sitting in the pews listening to the sermon. You got a chance to perform for people every Sunday. Every Sunday was like a concert. So that kind of got me into the wanting to do music. And even when I got into the military, I found a way to get into the choir in the military. And just music has just always been a part of my life. It's just always seemed like it's been a part of my fabric, and it's what makes me feel good.
And also, as well, as we already know, you are one of the original members of the iconic R&B group Intro. I was wondering, how did yourself, Jeff, and Kenny originally meet? Like, what's the story behind the formation of this iconic group?
That's a good question, and it's definitely we have the documentary coming out January 15th, and I hope everybody get a chance to take a look at it. It's called Music, Lyrics, and Life. But I actually met Kenny Green when I was in the Army, stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He was stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I had a friend of mine who told me, he said, "Hey, I know this guy Kenny that can sing really good. I told him that you know how to play the piano. I think you guys should meet." And he introduced us to each other, and we started going to the recreation center on the weekends, sitting at the piano, and that's pretty much how Intro started. Just sitting down, playing some music, and Kenny just started writing real quick, and it just grew organically. Like the opportunities started presenting themselves, and as they presented themselves, we prepared for the next level or what might present itself.
And I gotta say as well, you guys are definitely meant to be one of the biggest R&B groups, man. Because in my personal opinion, you guys had such phenomenal chemistry, all three of you guys together at the very beginning of your guys' career.
Well, thank you. I always feel like it was destined to happen, and it's just one of those things. Like I love music, he loved music, and we ended up meeting Jeff through a mutual friend, and I always look at music like people look at boxing. like if you have to prepare yourself, you have to be in the gym. You know, for musicians, the gym is the studio or just the standalone piano at your house, the guitar in your hand. That's the gym. You just have to prepare yourself. That way, when opportunity presents itself, you're ready for the fight. Say if you're a boxer and someone comes at you and say, "Hey, I got $1 million for you to fight this Saturday," you'll take the $1 million to get in the ring. But if you haven't been training or prepared for it, then more than likely you're not going to win the fight. So you just have to. We just prepared ourselves for the opportunity, and without knowing opportunity would present itself, but it did, and we were ready.
And also, as well, Intro was actually discovered by the late great hip-hop artist Heavy D. I was wondering, how did you guys initially get connected with Heavy D? And of course, what was it like working alongside him during your guys' early years?
Well, we met Heavy D. I met Heavy D years ago through AEF, through one of my friends that was in the Army named Reggie Reese. But that wasn't on the musical level. That was just us going to hang out. We met Heavy D at a club called the Red Zone. And we told him that on the way out to the club, we were singing one of his songs. It was a song that he had did with Jodeci called Peaceful Journey on his Peaceful Journey album. You're on my mind, and I wish you a peaceful journey, but I hope you hear me. So we was using that song as rehearsal on the way to the club. And so when we saw him, we said, "Man, we was just singing your song on the way out here." He's like, "Let me hear what y'all was singing." So we let him hear it, and he asked us for our phone number. And he passed our phone number off to DJ Eddie F., who was starting a production company called The Untouchables. And that's pretty much how Heavy linked us with The Untouchables, who ended up linking us with the other artists.
And I have to ask as well, because I know you guys that were also signed to Atlantic Records, I believe from like 92 to 01. Was Untouchable management, were they kind of like the distribution for Atlantic, or like how did you guys actually land that deal with Atlantic Records?
Mm-hmm. Well, initially, we signed to Untouchables Records, and Untouchables had the deal with Atlantic Records. We had a production deal with Untouchables, and Untouchables had the record deal with Atlantic to provide a certain amount of artists to them. After the first album, Intro, and the success of the debut album, Atlantic Records brought us from Untouchables, so then we became signed directly to Atlantic Records for our second album, which was titled New Life.
And also as well, before we get off the topic of Heavy D and whatnot, I have to ask, because obviously yourself, you knew him since the Army and whatnot, I have to ask, for the listeners that haven't really had the opportunity to hear a lot about Heavy D, what was one of your most fondest memories that you shared with Heavy D, and of course, what was he like behind the camera?
Heavy D was a real cool, rest in peace to Heavy D, Dwight Myers. He's just a real cool, down-to-earth person. He put so many people on. You know, you got Soul for Real, you got Intro, you have all the people from Mount Vernon, like Albie Shore, Jeff Redd, Chris Williams, Denzel Washington. Everybody came after Heavy D from Mount Vernon. And one of my most fond memories of Heavy D was just, honestly, every time I saw Heavy, I just thanked him. I'm like, yo, man, I know you heard this before, but I want to say thank you. Because he literally changed my life. You know, I was just coming out of the military. I had just really come from war. I had just finished fighting a war. And coming back into, like, mainstream society, you know, the music pretty much saved me from a lot of the memories and stuff of war. And I was very thankful and appreciative of that. And every time I saw Heavy, no matter how many times it was, he must have thought I was crazy. I just used to look at him and be like, yo, thank you.
And also as well, in the year 1992, you were actually featured on Father MC's album, Close to You. I was wondering, how did yourself and Father MC get connected? And of course, what was it like just working in the studio with fellow legend like him?
Oh, that's a funny story. Like with Father MC album, we had started working on our album. We had did some of the Mary J. Blige stuff, and Father came through the studio, and we did the record, a song with him called Close to You, which is undoubtedly, I think, the hottest song on the album. But at the time, Untouchables had Jodeci, who was also on the album with one of the songs with Father MC. So I felt like Close to You should have been his first single, but Andre wouldn't let it be the first single because they had their R&B group Jodeci. So they released some other songs, but they made the title of the album Close to You. I never heard of an album before that was titled after a song where that song wasn't a single. So that was one of the funny situations for us. But shout out to Father MC. That was a very good album. The name of the album, if you haven't heard it, it's called Close to You by Father MC.
And I gotta say as well, man, Father MC, in my personal opinion, is such an underrated artist, man. I think he deserved much more praise than what he actually got, man, in my personal opinion.
Father MC is so dope. He's so dope. He was dope before we met him. You know, it seems like he's one of those artists that whatever he does is good. You know, he's just a very, very talented person.
And he's still doing his thing as well after all these years as well, still putting out hits, man. I think he's dropping like a single almost every single month.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
But also as well, when you actually briefly brought up a few moments ago about Intro's second album, man, New Life, I was always wondering, because me personally, that's my favorite album that really drew me to your guys' music. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a story behind this iconic album, and of course, why wasn't there ever a third studio album by you guys?
Well, after the Intro album, we toured for 2 years. We went back in to record New Life, and just as we received the budget from the label to go in and to record New Life, Kenny's dad passed away. So that kind of took us out of party mode, like the Let Me Be the Ones and the Love Thing type of songs, and we wanted to be more of an inspirational song and give Kenny the chance to vent with his pen and show some homage to his dad and his memories. That's why the New Life album is more like an inspirational gospel record as opposed to our first album, which was like more of a party hip-hop upbeat record. And in regards to the other part of the question, as far as the third album, we recorded about, I would say, 40 to 50 songs for album number 3. And we've held on to them because we've always asked ourselves, like, we don't want to just put the songs out. No one's buying CDs. No one's really paying for music. When you think about it, no one's ever paid for the song. They've always paid for the cassette, the 8-track tape, the CD, the LP, but they've never paid for the song. And over the past, 5 to 6 years, the musicians have been in a situation like, what are we going to do? What's going to be the next vehicle? And it's funny that you asked that question because on this Thursday, we're going to release one of the very first songs from our third album as an NFT on fanfare.com. That's going to be this upcoming Thursday. So it's crazy that you asked that question.
Because me personally, I was always actually wondering that. That's why when I knew I had the opportunity to interview you, I knew me personally I had to bring that up. And for the me, and honestly, I have to ask. As for the NFT, for the individuals that don't know what an NFT is, would you be able to break that down a little bit for us and kind of explain how can we actually hear this unreleased song from the third Intro record?
Well, NFT, it stands for non-fungible token, and that may not sound clear to most of the listeners. I'll try to break it down real quick. Fungible means that something can be replaced. Say if you have a apple, you eat the apple and it was good, and you can go back to the supermarket tomorrow and get another apple, and it's going to taste similar. That makes it fungible. Non-fungible means that there's only one apple. Once you eat that apple and you tasted it, that was it. There's no more apples. That makes it non-fungible, like the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is non-fungible because that artist is no longer around to make that song. So when we release our non-fungible token song on this Thursday, we're going to release a limited amount of copies for sale, but the person who purchases that NFT will actually own that portion, that share of the song. As the song grows, being that you bought the NFT, you'll be making money into your crypto wallet. You know, I don't really say go with this crypto wallet or get that crypto wallet. There's some people that's listening now that know exactly what I'm talking about, and there are others that have no idea what I'm talking about. But I do encourage you to just read up on NFTs, cryptocurrencies, and the direction that the metaverse is going, and digital music. You know, it's kind of like the future of music. Intro, we've always focused on music, but intro stands for innovative, new talent reaching out. So we also try to stay ahead of the curve as far as technology and stuff. That way we don't get left behind in that sense as well. So non-fungible token, NFT, means it's only one of them. And out of that one, we can sell 1,000 copies. We can sell 1 million copies, as many as we want. But once those copies are sold, there's going to be no more. So you have to buy them from the beginning. And the best thing about it is that you can resell them for whatever price you want. You can set your own price and resell it as an NFT on the blockchain. I hope I made sense with that. I know it's a lot to swallow, but I tried to put it in a small pill.
And also, as well, aside from actually being an amazing artist, you actually had the opportunity to produce a gospel album for Phyllis Stevens, who is actually the mother of pop legend John Legend. I was wondering, could you tell us a bit more about that? And of course, what was it like working with Phyllis and producing her project? It was intimidating because I knew her son John is a phenomenal musician, and for me to take on that task, for him to trust me with the task, first of all, was like, wow, he trusted me for her to come and stay with me for like 2 weeks and to record the album, and I was careful with what producers I brought around her and how the project was recorded, and you know, to me it was pretty much sacred. It was a gospel album, and I brought in I got some help from my girlfriend Coco from SWV. She helped me with the album. Darren Whittington, he helped me with the album, and it was a good experience. You know, it was a good experience. I thought it was a joke when I got the call at first, but I was like, yeah, let's do it. And also as well, man, in the year 2020, so we're jumping ahead in the timeline a little bit, you actually teamed up with legendary hip-hop group The Lost Boys, where you were actually featured on their Grand Scheme 1226 album on the song Look What I Did. I was wondering if you can tell our listeners a bit more about this collaboration, and of course, how did you initially get connected with The Lost Boys?
Shout out to Mr. Cheeks and The Lost Boys. My mom bought a house in South Jamaica, Queens. And that's the area that the Lost Boys are from. So I kind of became a Lost Boys fan, not knowing them, but knowing that they were from our neighborhood, and they had really good records. Lights, Camera, Action, Renee. You know, they had that really good, cool Queen swag. And on top of that, Tim Patterson, who was our artist development coach, was also their artist development coach. But I had never met them. Fast forward, we do a show back in about, I want to say 2012, 2013, in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Mr. Cheeks is on the bill, and we happen to be flying there on the same plane, and that's how we met. You know, we hung out at the show, and we exchanged numbers and said, yo, when we get back to New York, let's hook up. A few days after we get back to New York, Cheeks comes by the studio, and from right there, we just started recording songs. And we got a bunch of songs lined up. We actually did a tour called The Perfect Blend. And then when it was time for them to do the new Lost Boys album, he brought me in to do Look What I Did with Me. And that's the song. I never imagined myself being on a Lost Boys album, but there I am. I consider myself a member of Intro and a member of the Lost Boys at the same time. Shout out to Lost Boys, L's Up, D2, Mr. Cheeks, Bobby Garcia, Big Nice, Pretty Lou. Their shows are crazy. It's different touring with a rap group than touring with an R&B group. I'll leave that right there.
But I have to ask, what is next for yourself? Because I do know that you actually mentioned that there's actually an intro documentary coming out. You guys are dropping an NFT of an unreleased song. But I have to ask, is there anything I happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on the Canadian FM dial this evening.
Man, this is one of the most thorough interviews. Man, the research behind this interview is so crazy right here that I really didn't have to think. It's like you pretty much kind of know, like you got your hand on the pulse of what we're doing, and I appreciate that. And I hope there's like a couple other million people just like yourself out there. But yeah, we have the documentary coming. Shout out to Jason Evans, 360 Films, Indiflix Films. Shout out to our manager and booking agency, Sonia Fran. Shout out to Jeff Sanders. Rest in peace to Kenny Green. We have a whole slew of the next generation that's coming up. My son, Clinton Wike III, he's a animal in the studio. I'm learning from him as far as guitar and chords. Then I got my nephew, Markel Gray. We have a female artist out of Canada. Her name is Madam Ray. Her little brother actually plays hockey for the Los Angeles Kings, and they're from Canada. Do you know Akil Thomas?
I heard of him, yeah.
Akil, he's from Toronto. He actually scored the winning goal in the Youth Olympics when they played Russia. His sister, I work with her. Her name is Madam Ray, and that's it. That's it. We just try to stay busy. We just try to stay focused. We try to stay healthy. I have my assistant. Her name is Lauren. She keeps me focused, and she happens to be 6 years old. Say hi, Lauren. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, but she's learning from the best. She's learning from Buddy Wike. So you know what I mean. There's no other better person that she could actually learn from.
Thank you.
But also, Buddy, this is the time in the interview, man, that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves. Just a chance to give, shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to. But most of all, man, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything Buddy Wike, and, of course, intro as well.
So it's Buddy Wike. It's like a bike. A lot of people say Buddy White, like the color, but it's one of those weird names. I really don't know too many people with my last name. It's spelled W-I-K-E. So it's Buddy White, Buddy White Music, BuddyWhite.com, the real intro R&B. We try to just keep it simple in that right there. Like I was just speaking with the senior vice president of the label the other day, and she was telling me let's tighten up the social media and kind of have people going into one place. Yeah.
But I gotta say, first and foremost, Buddy, thank you so much, man, for just giving us a little bit of your time here this evening and sliding into the 97.7 FM airwaves, man. Also, I gotta say quickly, thank you for years of monumental music that not only myself, but millions of listeners all across the globe had the opportunity to enjoy for many years, man. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing much more music coming from you in the future as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are most certainly welcome, buddy. Thank you so much, man, and definitely have yourself a wonderful Sunday night.
Thank you. Happy holidays, and thank you for sharing your platform with me. Stay safe.
You are most certainly welcome, man, and happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you, sir.